Welcome to the Books Bible Study. We are continuing in the third book of the Bible, the book of Leviticus Chapter 5. If you've gone through Genesis with us, which had 50 chapters, you can definitely get through the rest of the books that are coming up, because none of them have as many as 50. And then, of course, Exodus has 40. So if you've gotten through Genesis and you've gotten through Exodus, you can definitely get through the rest of the chapters. I think we don't really have any long ones until like maybe Psalms. Then you really need to put on, your motivation so we can get through all 150 of those, right? So Leviticus chapter 5. As we can see so far, the Leviticus is teaching the instructions for the sacrifices and the offering, how to prepare them, right? Which offering is for what? It's giving you very specific things that we have to do, that they had to do. Right. So also from the first 4 chapters of Leviticus, there are 9 commandments. For those of you that are still keeping up with the commandments, starting from the 10 commandments in Exodus 20. If you're starting from those and you're still keeping up with all of those, there are 9 in Leviticus chapters 1 through 4. It was to offer the burnt offering, right, according to the correct procedure. To bring the meal or the grain offering, also to salt every sacrifice, to offer the peace offering, to bring the sin offering for certain sins, not to offer leaven, right, with an offering on the altar, not to offer honey on the altar, and not to eat the fat of ox, sheep, or goat, and then also not to eat the blood. So these were the 9 commandments that were in the first 4 chapters of Leviticus. So verse 1 of Leviticus chapter 5. If a person sins in hearing the utterance of an oath and is a witness, whether he has seen or known of the matter, if he does not tell it, he bears guilt. So if you are called to testify in a matter or be a witness of a wrongdoing as someone who have heard about it, and you refuse, you bear guilt. You're responsible. Okay, verse 2. Or if a person touches any unclean thing, whether it is the carcass of an unclean beast, or the carcass of unclean livestock, or the carcass of unclean creeping things, and he is unaware of it, he also shall be unclean and guilty. Verse 3. Or if he touches human uncleanness, whatever uncleanness with which a man may be defiled, and he is unaware of it, when he realizes it, then he shall be guilty. Verse 4. Or if a person swears, speaking thoughtlessly with his lips to do evil or to do good, whatever it is that a man may pronounce by an oath, and he is unaware of it, when he realizes it, then he shall be guilty in any of these matters. Verse 5. And it shall be, when he is guilty in any of these matters, that he shall confess that he has sinned in that thing. Verse 6. And he shall bring his trespass offering to the Lord for his sin which he has committed, a female from the flock, a lamb or a kid of the goats as a sin offering. So the priest shall make atonement for him concerning his sin. Verse 7. If he is not able to bring a lamb, then he shall bring to the Lord for his trespass which he has committed 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. Good evening, Sister Brenda. Good to see you on. Verse 8. And he shall bring them to the priest, who shall offer that which is for the sin offering first, and wring off its head from its neck, but shall not divide it completely. Verse 9. Then he shall sprinkle some of the blood of the sin offering on the side of the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be drained out at the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. Verse 10. And he shall offer the second as a burnt offering according to the prescribed matter. So the priest shall make atonement on his behalf for his sin which he has committed, and it shall be forgiven him. Okay, so these are for those unintentional sins that we spoke about in the last chapter, right? And they gave you some good examples of things that you may do unknowingly, but once you know what you've done, then these are the ways that you would atone for that. Verse 11 says, but if he is not able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he who sins shall bring for his offering 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour as a sin offering. He shall put no oil on it, nor shall he put frankincense on it, for it is a sin offering. Verse 12. Then he shall bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his handful of it as a memorial portion and burn it on the altar according to the offerings made by fire to the Lord. It is a sin offering. Verse 13. The priest shall make atonement for him for his sin that he has committed in any of these matters, and it shall be forgiven him. The rest shall be the priest's as a grain offering. Verse 14. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, verse 15, if a person commits a trespass and sins unintentionally in regards to the holy things of the Lord, then he shall bring to the Lord as his trespass offering a ram without blemish from the flocks, with your evaluation in shekels of silver, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, as a trespass offering. So the trespass offering, or the guilt offering, has to do with unintentional sin that causes some sort of damage to a person, right? So it's restitution and the sacrifice that is needed, okay? So not only do you need to be forgiven by God, but also make things right to the person that you may have offended, right? Verse 16 says, and he shall make restitution to the harm that he has done in regard to the holy thing, and shall add 1/5 to it, and give it to the priest. So the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering, and it shall be forgiven him. Verse 17. If a person sins and commits any of these things which are forbidden to be done by the commandments of the Lord, though he does not know it, yet he is guilty and shall bear his iniquity. This is something that I feel like we need to understand, right, as the body of Christ. For us, morally, even when we offend someone unintentionally, when it becomes known to us, we don't continue as if that offense is irrelevant, right? This goes under the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. You try to seek peace with all people. So you accept that responsibility when you hurt someone, even if it was unintentionally, right? And you try to make it right if you can, okay? Most times apology will work. Other times there is something that was broken, like an object or whatever it is. You try to make restitution. And if they want to hold on to it, if they don't want to forgive you for it, that is up to them. But at least your heart is clear from the guilt for you, right? And you are in right standings with God, okay? So verse 18 says, and he shall bring to the priest a ram without blemish from the flock, with your valuation as a trespass offering. So the priest shall make atonement for him regarding his ignorance, in which he erred and did not know it, and it shall be forgiven him. Okay, verse 19 says, it is a trespass offering. He has certainly trespassed against the Lord. So we must understand, if you look at the moral implications, no, we don't have to offer rams and bulls and turtle doves, right? But we are still held responsible for the moral obligation, right, in our lives, because we do have to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and we have to love our neighbor as ourselves. So this causing offense, this goes under that, okay? So even unintentional offenses are important to God. They matter to God. So just because you don't know you committed a sin, or you don't know you committed an offense, does not make it less of a sin. It's still a sin, right? So we're talking about even those unintentional offenses that may have been done to you, right? And to those that you have done to other people. Okay, that's why we cannot afford to not forgive someone, right? Because we do things that causes other people to suffer unknowingly, and we have no clue, right? I mean, something as simple as cutting somebody off in traffic and they get into an accident, right? Because of our carelessness, right? And so we want to be peacemakers, not peace breakers, right? Blessed are the peacemakers. So in this chapter, well, all the chapters, you really see, like, even though some of the things are cultural, there are some moral implications in these sacrifices that lets us know how God feels about these particular acts, right? We don't go on acting as if an offense has not occurred, especially when it becomes known to us. We try, and people don't always forgive. People are not always able to get over it. And that's their process that they have to do, and you have to respect that, right? Because some things takes a while to get over, so you can't tell someone how long they should be offended or how long it takes for them to process and get over something, right? But you do have to do your part to try to make that right. Now, if they're just unaccepting and do not want to forgive you, you have no control over that, right? We know what the word says about not forgiving others, right? So we make sure we don't hold any resentment or malice or envy or jealousy or strife or hatred or any kind of bitter roots within our heart, right? Because we know better. Because we're going to continue to need forgiveness from God. So we don't want to harbor anything that, especially if someone tries to apologize, whether it's sincere or not, you want to let that stuff go. Because bitter roots will set in. They will set in and cause you to have a wicked heart. Literally, you could be the nicest person, and most of us have seen people that have started off very nice, giving, kind people, and something happened to them, something that maybe they had no control over, and it caused that bitterness set in, and they turned into wicked people, right? And that's not how they started out. But that's why if we've done something unintentionally, when someone brings that to our knowledge, we are to try to make peace, restitution. At most stuff or some stuff, you can just simply ask for forgiveness, let them know, hey, this was not my intentions, or I wasn't in the right place, or whatever the reason is. That should suffice. But sometimes when you break property or steal something or anything like that, then you might need to give it back. You might need to find a way to pay them back, things like that, right? God cares about when we offend people, right? And he cares about when we are offended, right? And so just because it was not intentional does not make it an offense. Does not make it less of an offense, and it does not make it less of a sin just because it was unintentional, right? We still, which daily, we should be asking God for forgiveness for all of the things that we don't know that is a sin against him, right? But this also goes to people, right? If you recognize that by the end of the day, when you're saying your prayers and things like that, and you recognize you have offended someone, once it comes to your knowledge, then you should do, right? But you can do to make peace with it, to make peace with them. Okay, so God bless. That concludes Leviticus chapter 5. Like I said, if you've gone through Genesis and you've gone through Exodus, we're going to fly through these next books. They're not as long, right? So just, if you've gone through those first two, then just come along for the ride as we continue to go through the Old Testament. God bless you all.